we are, got the pigs in the background, and I'm digging a square metre. I like to work a square metre at a time because we want to get all the roots, the kikuyu roots, out of the ground. If you have got these, they've got to be removed really to give our seeds a proper good start, a little head start, let's say, before the kikuyu comes back. So I want to get the mulch on as quickly as possible because I don't want sunlight to get on the ground and kill the microbes. The ultraviolet light kills the good bacteria. And the sun's going down, so I don't have to be too fussy about it. But if you're doing this in the middle of the day, you definitely have to keep the sun off the dirt. You will lose your carbon in about 5 minutes if you leave it exposed to the sun. You'll see it turn from a darker brown to a lighter brown, and that's it losing carbon and oxidising carbon, turning it into carbon dioxide instead of humus. Humus is actually turned into carbon dioxide, and you might think it's because it's drying out that it's changing colour, but we've shown that it's actually it changes colour very fast and loses carbon very fast. So, number 1 rule, always keep the soil covered. 100% of the time. That's the soil health principle. Now, I'm trying to get this land level so that it will hold water because it is so low in carbon. The water doesn't soak in fast, and if it's on any sort of slope, the water will move to the lowest place and take soil with it. In other words, we'll erode the soil. So, not having my trusty little rake, I'm just going to use my hands. I don't mind if we leave a few kikuyu roots in, because as I say, we just want to give a bit of a head start to the seeds, the cover crop seeds we're putting in. Now, am I doing this level? I hope so. I don't know till I test it with the hose. We'll test it with the hose, make it rain. Hopefully I've made it like almost a square metre of ground with no roots in it now. That's fairly level. It is running a bit that way. Okay. Now that'll take a while to go in. Sometimes, in some parts of our property, it takes 4 days. We can make a bowl, fill it with water, and that water will still be sitting on top of the surface 4 days later. I'm sure you don't want to watch this video while that water soaks in, but we're going to just pretend that it's soaked in. The next step would be to mulch. So this is some sawdust and leaves. We've got at the tip, just a light covering because you really haven't got that much mulch, and if you're doing large areas, just thinly cover it. Then, yeah, I've got this wonderful homie. Here it is. This is a great little tool from Asia, the homie, and it's awesome for making, there is lots of water there. A furrow in the ground, which is a ditch, just a ditch, and it should be as level as possible, like so. So I will scrape away the mulch, make a furrow. This leaves mulch, furrow, mulch, furrow. Scrape away the mulch, draw a line, find another root of kike. The rescue plant, it hovers around and it's ready to come rushing back in if other plants die, because it's just got this amazing ability to grow in dust. And if you don't have kikuyu, you sometimes don't have anything, and you have bare soil eroding with any puff of wind or any trickle of rain. So we'll be sort of repeatedly wetting this with the hose, simulating light showers as in the break of the season. We hope that the winter rains are going to start soon, but here we are, sort of mid-April, and we're cold and dry. Except for today, where it's been 28 and it will be 28 tomorrow, which is probably a record for April. Record heat. Because we've treated this with chooks a few times, and we've just allowed the kikuyu to grow, and then we've mowed it off with the chooks, the chicken tractor here. We've done that a few times. It's grown up, been mowed down, grown up, been mowed down, grown up, been mowed down. About the third time, you're really getting some carbon in here. Better than it was. It's not going to take 4 days to soak in, but probably 14 minutes. Again, we don't want to hang around. So, little trick, I'm going to use compost to sow these seeds. I'm going to put some in the furrow. It's pretty, well, it's not very finished compost. It is cooled down, but if we waited another month, you wouldn't see any wood chips. The fungi would have decomposed it all to beautiful black soil without visible signs of what you made the compost out of. It would just look like soil. And we usually insert worms into a cooled down compost heap, and they continue the conversion from various organic matters like wood chips and manure and leaves and weeds into beautiful sort of soil. So I've got some compost there, and that's like a sponge. Now I need my seeds. They're over here. Mixture of seeds. They say at least 17 species in a mixture is what you need. So we've got broad beans, peas, vetch. They're all legumes that fix nitrogen. We've got oats and chicory, which is a great taproot plant like a dandelion that brings up tons of minerals. We've got alfalfa, 2 types. We've got an alfalfa with a purple coating, which is inoculant. That's a lab bean, which is again a really good nitrogen fixer and grows in very poor dry sand. As does the tiny seeds there of Margarita and Santorini French Ceradella. And their roots go deep. It grows into a very high feed value plant that survives over a number of years. Reseeds itself really. And persists for a number of years. Hopefully 10, maybe forever, I don't know. It's meant to be pretty great. It comes from Africa or somewhere where it's northeast, very hot and dry places. Now I'm putting way too much seed in there. Really, we only need a seed every 4 inches, and that's every 100 mils. So I have put quite a bit of seed there because this ground is so poor. I know there's going to be a lot of pests and weed pressure here. Now, looking for my inoculum, which is another bucket, a different bucket, which is, thank you, thanks very much. I really don't know what they grow the bacteria on, but this is a dry sort of granular thing which is covered in bacteria. It's a nitrogen fixing bacteria that will latch onto the roots of these legumes, particularly the Ceradellas. And it's called Alosca, and you put it on sort of 1 medium-sized granule every 6 inches in this furrow would be plenty. That equates to 8 kilos a hectare. Did a bit of maths to work that out, and it's pretty cheap. It's way cheaper than the seed anyway. It's just $1 for a 50-gram packet. It's quite weighty, so the postage bumped up the price. If you went and picked it up and you didn't consider your time and fuel, then you would think it was extraordinarily cheap. And it'll just make these legume plants fix nitrogen from the air and be really healthy. And then we just cover the seed again with compost, a tiny bit. I don't even know why I'm bothering, because really I think I'll use this finer material, which is sawdust and chalk manure. I don't like to use too much chalk manure because, I don't know, it's got a reputation for being very hot and burning plants. And it isn't composted, but it is organic, so it's from our chalk pens. But a tiny bit like that will just keep the area from drying out, as will the compost. That's the main function of the compost. Besides injecting good biology into here, seeding the ground with wonderful bacteria, nematodes, protozoa, microarthropods, all the good guys. And finally, without being careful of your seed bucket, put the lid on it before you put the hose on here. You don't want to lose all that by making it wet and start sprouting. And hose, hose, hose. And we'll just hose this every few days. No, sorry, several times a day for the next few days until it gets wet, till the water is penetrating. And if you have a look behind you here, camera lady, there's green plants starting to grow, and that's from our seeding, and that's coming up after 4 days. The first things that come up are the alfalfa and the kale that I've got in that mix. They come up after a few days, especially in hot weather and if you're keeping it nice and moist, wet. So that's about it. And this will grow absolutely beautiful and feed the soil. All those different plants will feed different sugars and different root exudates to your microbes, and your microbes will have a very healthy diet full of variety, which is way better than monoculture. Yeah, and in this mix there'll be deep tap roots, and there'll be shallow fibrous roots. There'll be all different types of root structures, and the whole mass will be connected together by mycorrhizal fungi net. So those deep roots will act as a wick and bring water up and share it out amongst the shallow rooted plants, which is why this multi-species thing works really well. In a really bad drought, monocultures die, whereas multi-species live, and that's the reason. Especially if you haven't killed your whole microbe, your fungi, especially with fungicide seed coating. You don't want to use seeds that have been treated with fungicide, which is exactly what the Ag Department advise, that you use a fungicide treatment on your seeds. Okay, thank you very much. Stop